All right, guys, we're going to get into this video of Myron Gaines confronting the Nelk boys over doing that disastrous interview with the war criminal Benjamin Netenyahu, right? So these guys are your typical, circle jerk frat boys who are targeting a base of dudes that can't possibly, they probably can't even point Israel on the map, let alone any other country other than the U.S. and Canada. So these guys are appealing to that crowd. So they bring this Netanyahu guy on, and total like positive PR for the guy. I mean, they try to humanize him. He was on there, and because he's a malicious psychopath, and his talking points, he knows how to adjust depending on who he's talking to, because we've seen him do that in Hebrew and English. Like in Hebrew, he'll start talking about genocide and mass murder. And then with the English audience, he was talking about, oh, me and Trump enjoy hamburgers. Yeah, me and Trump like McDonald's hamburgers and this and that. So these guys possibly brought on like the equivalent of, even worse than Ted Bundy. And they had a conversation with him about what food he likes, right? So these guys are absolute morons. In my book, I'm glad they're getting the backlash they are getting. I hope like it's to the full extent or whatever the backlash ends up being, right? Like massive unsubscribing. Because these guys are the type of dudes that think this shit is funny. Like, hee hee hoo hoo hoo. Let's like it's all a joke. Let's put on a mass murderer on our show. We're over here, we're protected while other people starve and get mass murdered. So these are the type of dudes that will do some shit like this, right? But let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. These guys are fucking chumps, but let's get into it. We're going to talk about a little strange connection here to one of the people on the Nelk boys, to a very prominent lawyer who's responsible for some interesting things. So we're going to talk about that, but let's get into this
I think
video.
people didn't even watch the episode, and they're just upset with the fact that we had him on in the first place.
100%.
Well, I watched it, and he lied to y'all about a bunch of shit. So that's kind of what it is. Like, I know Hassan didn't watch it, so he's over here lecturing like a fucking dickhead, but I actually watched the interview. You lied about a bunch of shit. Like, for example, one of the things he lied about was like, oh, they were burning babies alive. That's not true. A lot of the shit that happened on October 7th was a lie. There was no mass rapes. There was no beheaded babies.
Whoa. Really?
Oh, yeah.
Whoa, really? Wait till this guy finds out that, oh, Netanyahu was responsible for killing 50,000 children, within the first year of the conflict. Wait, I didn't know that. Oh, I wish I would have known that before I interviewed them. And like, this is the same stupid mentality that like some of these lobbyist groups that represent Israel come here and like manipulate our politicians and stuff because of this pure like sheer ignorance, right? But yeah, man, jeez,
Dude, like that's, bro, he fucking was just saying, look, if you guys want me to really go through this, I can. But a lot of the stuff that went down on October 7th was sensationalized and a fucking lie. Look at your chat. They know I'm telling the truth.
Let me see.
Look at your chat right now. A lot of the shit that went down on October 7th was a fucking lie. And most people don't have the balls to fucking call this shit out, dude. There was no beheaded babies, no babies in ovens.
Okay.
Mass rapes were a lie. Look at your chat, bro.
But murders happened?
They're saying facts, but
Murders happened or no murders?
chill.
No, murders happened, but
Yeah.
it's very important for you guys to understand how the murders went down. So there were 1,200 people that died on that day, right? 400 of those people that were killed were IDF soldiers, which by international law means they are enemy combatants and they're fair game. Next was about 800 people died. Now, this is the part that no one wants to talk about. The 800 that died, right, that were civilians, we'll also keep in mind that everyone in Israel has to join the IDF at some point and do service. So you can make the argument that they're enemy combatants, but that's fine. Let's go with 800 civilians, right? Those 800 civilians, we don't know who Hamas killed versus who the IDF killed. Now, I know you guys are probably saying like, yo, what the fuck? The reason for that, guys, is there was a controversial directive activated that day called the Hannibal Directive. The Hannibal Directive is authorization from the government to kill Israeli citizens and or soldiers when they're about to be kidnapped by Palestinian militias. And the reason why they do this is so they don't end up in a position where they have to exercise diplomacy and do hostages exchanges. They learned this with a guy back in 2006 named Gilad Shalit. So what Hamas did when they went in there, the goal was to get as many hostages as possible to negotiate the release of Palestinian prisoners that are in Israel. Again, I'm not here to condone their behavior, but I'm here to tell you guys why they did the said behavior and what really went down and what the intention was. So When we talk about the 800 Israelis that were killed, innocent people were killed. I'm not refuting that. But what I will say is a lot of those innocent people that were killed by the IDF. How do we know this? Because they were shot by Apache helicopters with Hellfire missiles. Hamas doesn't have that. There was some of them in the kibbutzes, which is their homes.
I mean,
They were
Myron,
shot
this
with
is
tanks.
crazy now. We're going conspiracy theories.
This is not conspiracy theories, bro. This is 100% fact.
Because didn't,
Matter of fact,
didn't on October 7th, Hamas captured American citizens as well, right?
yeah, they had like a couple U.S. citizens, but they just got one of the guys back.
We just went at I'm gonna let you speak, but we just went at Hassan for hypotheticals and conspiracies, so we gotta just keep that same energy. And I want to tell you one thing. Wait, I'm gonna tell you really quick.
Yo,
You watched the podcast.
bro,
Wait,
hold on.
Myron. We went at Netenyahu for. Okay, go ahead.
Hear me out. Everything I just told you, I got from Israeli media. When I'm talking about the people that were killed, the Hannibal directive that was activated that day, their defense minister, a guy named Yoav Gallant, admitted on October 7th the Hannibal directive was activated, which means they killed innocent civilians. IDF did this because they didn't want them to get kidnapped. Okay? And none of this stuff is a conspiracy theory. Another thing, this comes from the Israel Times. They could have got the hostages back on October 10th. But guess what? They didn't want to get the hostages back because he wanted to bomb the fuck out of Gaza and invade. Because he used what happened on October 7th as an excuse to perpetrate a war against the entire Middle East. Because Israel wants to create the Greater Israel Project and expand territory.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are cornballs, man. I mean, we could talk about how, like, Netanyahu had knowledge of October 7th a year prior and decided not to act for 7 hours on that day. There's so many things we can get into. But the general framework here is that these cornballs have a really huge following of other dudes that, you know, don't know much about the conflict, right? So they bring on a mass murdering genocidal psychopath to sit there and lie for an hour straight about what's actually going on. And he even lied about his relationship with Donald Trump, which is really bad, by the way. Several people have reported on this, like Donald Trump only talked to Netanyahu like once, and it was very awkward. And, you know, he's very skeptical about Netanyahu and his behavior too with what occurred with Iran, where he didn't want to stop the ceasefire, and then he, you know, essentially forced Trump into kind of bombing the Fordo nuclear sites, and there was that whole thing. So he's visibly frustrated with Netanyahu. But see, the key factor is when he came into the interview, Netanyahu was focusing on Trump. Like, oh, I love Trump. Trump's so great. Me and Trump have hamburgers. Me and Trump fucking have dinner together and this and that. So he knew that these people's, you know, audience is essentially like circle jerk fraternity boys who thinks Trump's gonna, like, he's just like magical mythical character that's gonna save America, right? so he's like, he went in talking about how important Trump is. If you notice throughout the interview, because I watched the whole thing, all he talked about was how great Trump is and how he's this great, like, you know, almost like the second coming of Christ or something. Like, this guy's gonna, like, save the world. And he's doing the complete opposite, right? Obviously, we've, you know, from Trump's term till now, it's been a disaster. But one quick, and, you know, you always got to do your homework, man, and you start seeing stuff just come out of the woodwork. So one quick connection here I want to talk about. So one of the guys, this Aaron Steinberg guy, so he's apparently, you know, Jewish. Shout out to the Jews. We love Jews, you know, love Jewish people. Nothing wrong with that. But there's an interesting connection here between his father, Harvey Steinberg, and he was a prominent lawyer who actually defended Asher Carney, which was an Israeli nuclear weapons smuggler during the times, you know, when Kennedy and that during that whole time where Kennedy was ordering inspections, and then we know what happened after that, right? The last great president America really ever had. And it's been a disaster since. So, you know, there's this connection here where this guy's kind of, he's incentivized regardless of what he's trying. Because, you know, what they're doing with them sitting on podcasts with Hassan and Myron and all these people is really just, they're just trying to save face. Like, oh, we're just dumb idiots. We didn't know what happened. You know, we're not really informed on this thing. We're just dumb. You know, they're cosplaying like they don't know exactly what happened or what's going on in Gaza, that there's a genocide and mass starvation and So they're saying they're acting like they don't know. Oh, we don't know what just happened. We just thought it was innocent. But yeah, man, this is the type. This is like circle jerk, grade A circle jerk fraternity energy. You know, and one thing here that we want to ensure is that these guys, you know, you don't fall into the trap of like, oh, we're sorry, you know, let's all make up now. We're just stupid podcasters. Like, yeah, but you have a huge following, and now you humanize the equivalent of fucking Adolf Hitler on your fucking platform to a group of people that don't know much about what's going on, right? So you got to deal with that. And I mean, I'm glad everybody. I've never subscribed to this shit, but I'm glad they're losing like thousands of subscribers over this shit. You know, they can redeem themselves, but they have to do like a fucking interview with like a Hamas general or some shit. Like it has to be to that level. You know, it can't just be like Bassem Youssef or Myron or Nick Fuentes or any of these people. That I want to see a Hamas like general being interviewed. That's probably the only way they can get some type of redemption. Yeah. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace.